you, Hallie, and thank you so much. I'm always proud to be endorsed by JDCA. And for those who don't know, I am the only Jewish federal elected official in Pennsylvania. Of course, we have a stellar governor who also is. But I wanted to thank the Harris campaign and the Jewish Democratic Council of America for inviting me to speak with all of you. And I just think it's such a blessing when I get to discuss the issues that matter in my community and across the country. And I really am happy to have this opportunity to speak about what's at stake in the election. As I said, my name's Susan Wild. I represent Pennsylvania's 7th congressional district. And as Hallie said, my race is always super close. It is projected to be one of the closest in the country this year. I think they've got me in the top 3 in terms of tough races. And if we want to take back the majority, we have to hold on to our incumbents. And so that's what I will say about my race. But the other thing that I will say about my race is that my district, I mean, obviously it's Pennsylvania, right? The great swing state of Pennsylvania. My district is the great swing district of Pennsylvania. And one of my counties is a bellwether county. They went for Obama, Trump, Biden, and fill in the blank for this year, hopefully Harris. And it is absolutely ground zero for winning Pennsylvania at the presidential level and for anybody running for statewide office. So there's a lot of relevance to my district that makes it very exciting. We also get a lot of people that come in from out of state, from safer blue areas to knock doors and that kind of thing. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot of that. Just so you know a little bit about my background, I was born in Germany on a military and on an Air Force base. My dad was a career Air Force officer. We moved around a whole lot during my early life, but Pennsylvania is where I found my home in the 80s when I was relatively newly married. Later had my children here, raised them here when they went to public schools, except for their preschool and kindergarten years when they were at our local JCC. I studied for my bat mitzvah right here with them. Actually, it was eventually bat mitzvahed with a close friend who lives right down the street from me when we went to Israel. And it's where it is home. Some people around here think that only living in a place for 36 years means you're a newcomer. But trust me, when you grow up as a military brat, 36 years is a really long time to be anywhere. And as the only Jewish member of the Pennsylvania congressional delegation, I feel a real responsibility to ensure that I'm advocating for our Jewish community at the local, state, and federal level. Just the other day, when the Tree of Life Synagogue was vandalized horrifically, I led the other Jewish members of Congress, none of whom are from Pennsylvania, in a statement condemning that. And I wanted to make sure that people understood that, yes, there is a there is a Jewish presence in Pennsylvania and not just in Philadelphia. But it's a very purple state. And the political season has officially started and the commercials are on the air. And I just want to share with you a little bit about what I'm hearing on the ground. Let me just start by saying that the newfound energy that we see as a result of Kamala Harris being at the top of the ticket is really refreshing. I felt as though I could eke out a win even with Joe Biden at the top of the ticket. I was less optimistic about whether he could win here because our polling was not looking good for him at all. We have not polled since Kamala's been in. But what I am seeing is just this surge that we are seeing across the country of enthusiasm from people who had kind of checked out this year, and people who often check out in election years. And I don't mean to disparage any one group, but young people and some minorities and so forth, and just tremendous enthusiasm. So I want to share with you what I am doing whenever I talk to anybody who is newly enthusiastic. I pull out my phone, and on my phone, I have a QR code that they can take a picture of, and it takes them right to Pennsylvania voter registration so they can check their voter registration status. And while they're there, I also say to them, okay, do you need to vote by mail? Are you in college or, out of state or something? And then I show them where they can apply for their vote by mail ballot. because obviously all this enthusiasm doesn't do us any good unless these people are registered to vote and actually turn out. So I hope that everybody everywhere is encouraging that enthusiasm, but also encouraging people to do what is really a very small task, and that is check their voter registration and get registered. I want to talk a little bit about some of the issues that resonate in my district that I think are so perfect for the Harris / fill in the blank ticket. Of course, there's a lot of speculation about my governor possibly being her running mate. Who knows? I'll be very excited if that's the case, although all of us in Pennsylvania will be a little bit sad to lose him as our governor. But I think he would bring a lot to the ticket, but that's all I'm going to say. And obviously, we're fortunate to have such a deep bench among our VP possibilities this year. It's amazing. I've never seen so many people actually excited about who the vice presidential pick might be. Like that's not usually something that gets talked about. So that's kind of fun. But I want to talk for a moment about reproductive rights, which we all know is so much on the ticket. And it's one of the things that I find incredibly special about Jewish culture. Our views as a religion on life and pregnancy. But I also am very aware that it's, it's a complicated issue in my district, and it's not in every district, but it is in mine. So I try to meet people where they are, and I try to find common ground with them. And one of the ways that I have been able to lately is by talking about in vitro fertilization, which, whoever thought that was going to become a big part of campaigns. But right after the Dobbs decision, which set us back 50 years on the issue of abortion, and after I read the Justice Thomas opinion, my first thought went to IVF. And a lot of that was because I have so many members of my family and among my friends who themselves depended on IVF to start a family. And so my office started working on an IVF bill very soon after the Dobbs decision. I'm proud to announce that we actually filed the bill in January. It's called the Access to Family Building Act. And by the way, it was filed before the Alabama court decision came down. It was a couple of weeks before that. I didn't know that was coming. And that decision criminalized IVF in the state of Alabama. So what I often do is if I'm with a group that I sense is not completely open to a discussion about abortion access, I will pivot to talking about fertility treatments, contraception, and that kind of thing, and how those things are so under fire by the MAGA extremists and by the GOP in general. I'm part of a Congress that the majority, the Republicans, voted at the beginning of this Congress on a fetal personhood bill. In other words, to state that life begins at conception, which means if that were the case, and if that were to pass and become the law of the land, IVF as a matter of science would have to be eliminated because it involves fertilizing an egg and creating embryos, and some of those embryos may or may not eventually be used. So it's something that it kind of piques people's interest, and it just gives me a different way to talk about reproductive rights. However, I have to say to you that reproductive rights, including choice, resonate in my district a lot. In the last campaign cycle in 2020, we did focus groups. I never watch my own focus groups because you don't want to really be on the other side of one-way glass, seeing what people say about you when they don't know you're watching. So I've never done it, but what I was told by my team was that our focus group, which had a lot of people who had voted for Trump previously, almost uniformly said they could not vote for somebody who was not pro-choice, including the Trump voters. And that was very encouraging, and is obviously something that is still an issue that resonates here in Pennsylvania 7.